So welcome everyone. My name's Adam Barrett. My pronouns are he and him or they and them. I'm the program coordinator for East End Arts. Thrilled with our excellent turnout today. And I just want to remind everyone, once again, we're going to record. Keep your cameras off if you don't want to be part of the recording. Turn them on if you feel like sharing your beautiful face or your live painting with the community after the fact. I want to start by saying that East End Arts acknowledges that our land, that our work takes place in the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. East Toronto is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. And it feels funny to talk about treaties today on a day like this, when the news that we've had today and for the last month, and I'm sure going forward when we keep getting news like this. But I think our work as artists and storytellers is important. It's important in the pursuit of truth and reconciliation, because as artists, we tell the truth. And so I think one of the things that is really important to me as an artist and to East End Arts as an organization is to engage the landscape when we make art. Because I believe that when we tell stories and when we celebrate the landscape, we gain respect for the stewards of that landscape who were here before us. And I hope there aren't many more days like this, but I know that if we keep telling stories about this land and the people that cared for it, that we will find our way through truth into reconciliation. That is my firm hope. And I'm thrilled that there are so many of you here today who share that hope. And I think we're all really excited about creating a space where we can really make some incredible things happen on some great walls this summer and this fall. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown of what tonight is going to look like. We're going to spend 30 minutes, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. Don't hold me to the 30 minutes. We're going to spend about 30 minutes talking about the project. And then hopefully we'll have 30 minutes, maybe a little more, to answer your questions and just talk about this amazing project. So first up, let me introduce our co-curatorial consultants. So we have Ariel Smith and Bareket Kezwer, and thank you both for being here. Ariel, why don't you get us started with just a little rundown of some of the themes that we're going to be exploring. And if folks have questions, drop them in the chat. We may not get to them during this session. We'll get to them in the Q&A, or if it's really urgent and relevant, I'll throw it in while we're chatting. Ariel, take it away.
Okay, I'm unmuted, right? Yeah.
You are unmuted.
Okay. Tansei, Ariel Smith, Yadasika Sun, Muscadeo Chania. Hi, I'm Ariel, and I'm a filmmaker and a media artist with my own practice. I also have a curatorial and programming practice, and I'm the artistic and managing director for Native Women in the Arts, which is a Toronto-based nonprofit multidisciplinary arts organization, which focuses on presenting and empowering Indigenous artists. So yeah, the theme for this project is currents of change. The Riverside neighborhood, as most of you probably know, gets its name from the Don River. And the Don River was named by John Simcoe in the late 1700s because I guess it reminded him of a river in England. But of course, the river already had a name. So the Mississaugas had called it Waskodanash, which there's different opinions about the pronunciation, the spelling, and the direct translation, but that's what I know it to be from people that have told me. And it roughly sort of translates to burning bright point, but again, there's some different opinions about that, but it already had a name. So that's something very important to acknowledge. And the Riverside neighborhood is in the midst of a great shift. The river is at the heart of a huge infrastructure project, looking at the ecology and the environment of the floodplain, which so literally changing the shape of the river. And floods are proof that despite our best efforts to control water, that is so closely knit with our community and our city, our lives are in fact directed and informed by the currents of change of the surrounding lakes and rivers. Riverside is a neighborhood and a community literally built around water, even in a sprawling urban metropolis like Toronto. We're all greatly informed and affected by the lakes and rivers, and yet often we're unaware of this, and we even, ignore the urgent needs to protect these waterways. So in terms of themes for this particular project, we're inviting artists to consider the power and the beauty of the element of water itself. And we ask artists to reflect on questions such as how do the waterways and how they have changed over time affected mobility, ecology, and the environment, and how does the water care for us, nurture us, sustain us, and how do we care for the water, or how do we not care for the water? So, and I believe it's very open to the artistic interpretation of those themes, but those are the themes that we are playing with. And yeah, I don't know if anybody else, if either of you guys want to add anything to that, but yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't know that that was the name of the river, and I'm glad I do. I think that's great.
Yeah, there's different names, and I'm Cree, I'm not Anishinaabe, so but that is the name I was told, but there is like some debate around the pronunciation, the spelling, and the direct translation. So depending on who you talk to, you'll hear a different thing, but that is definitely a name that people will call it. Yeah.
Great. Fabulous. Bareket, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the production details and a little bit about the selection process that we're going to have for these murals? I don't know anything about how to do murals. I'm not a muralist, and so I'm thrilled to have experts like you involved. So why don't you share with us a little bit about how we're going to pull this thing off?
Yeah, absolutely. So the process, sorry, my dog also really wants to explain things. The process for submissions this year is going to be a two-stage submission. So in the first stage, we're inviting artists to share primarily information about yourself and your practice and a very brief written description of how you would imagine responding to the theme. And from that pool of submissions, we've got an advisory committee who will select 20 artists who will each be paid an honorarium of $500 to develop a concept sketch based on their idea. And then the advisory committee will meet a second time to review those 20 concept sketches, and 10 artists will be selected to produce murals. The space that we will be painting in this year is 3 connected laneways that run just north of Queen Street, a little bit east and a little bit west of Broadview. And so because we'll be working in the laneway on primarily backsides of buildings, all of the canvases are quite different sizes. So we've got spaces ranging from approximately the size of a single garage door up to a few spaces which are 2 stories high and I believe about 40 feet wide. So artist fees for the mural production will be based on the square footage of the space that you would be painting. And in the second stage submission, we won't be assigning shortlisted artists to specific spaces. So we'll ask everybody to create their concept in roughly the same proportions, and that will be shared in the document that's sent to the shortlisted artists, with the expectation that if you're selected, you will be mindful of how to adjust your design if necessary to fit the specific space that you're assigned. And that might mean accounting for windows. It might mean removing a small amount of detail because your space is one of the slightly smaller ones, or it may be just thinking about if you want to adjust any aspects of it given the height and width of the specific space that you have. Another important production detail is that to ensure continuity and cohesion between all of the pieces, we will be coming up with a color scheme, and that color scheme will also be shared with shortlisted artists to consider when creating your design. And we will also be providing latex paint in all the colors that are in the color scheme. If your preference is to work with aerosol paint, we won't be providing aerosol paint, but we are happy to chat with you about colors that are close matches to the colors that have been selected, or stores and brands that, if you've got questions about aerosol paint. Other important production details: if you are assigned one of the spaces, which is a double height, our team will be arranging for the lift. And if you don't have that lift training, we can work with you to help make sure that you get it in time to participate in the project. Those are the big, a couple other just small production details, I guess. We'll have a storage space on site, so you won't be required to take your materials home every day. You'll be able to keep them in the storage area, and we'll also make sure that there are bathrooms available for everybody to use while painting. And we've designated from September 10th to September 24th as our paint days. And so if you are selected to paint your mural, there'll be hours every day when the storage container opens and when it closes. And between those hours, it's really up to you what time you want to be on site and what time not. There's not an expectation that you be there every single day, but if you want to be there every single day, then you're more than welcome to come. You can paint, at your own pace or at an accelerated pace if that's what your schedule requires.
Amazing. We did the 30 minutes in 20 minutes, team. And, the other thing that I'll mention is we're really hoping to include an element of mentorship in this. We have another program that's happening in August called Girls Mural Camp, and that's 10 youth aged 14 to 19, 14 to 18, I think, who will be learning from some established mural artists, including Bareket, about how to paint a mural. And it's an incredible project. We've done it a couple of years before. Great opportunity for some youth to really expand their horizons artistically. And so what we're hoping is that each of those youth will be matched with one of the selected artists to continue to grow their skills and gain insight into the process of making murals. And that's kind of the whole thing. We're really excited about it. I'm going to stop the recording. And so anyone watching online after the fact, thank you. Please, reach out if you have questions after watching this on YouTube. And for anyone here, let's chat.